Hey guys, welcome back. It's time to take a look at a Liquid Marketplace once again. I know it hasn't been that long since we looked at the last one. It's been 2 years of these videos trickling out, but we have a ton of new information today, including some dollar values that are pretty dang sickening. We got the disclaimer, if I can hit the button correctly. Here it is. Pause it if you need to, but let's get into the details here. So Liquid Marketplace, we've been calling this out for a long time. This was pumped by Logan Paul, of course. We've had other instances, other platforms that were pumped in a similar way. Of course, they always have something to do with NFTs, but this just reeked from the very beginning. Not only does it not make sense to be buying fractional shares of collectibles, in my opinion, but also just the fact that the thing fell apart from the inside out. It was there were signs. There were some serious signs here. It seemed like their social media was fabricated. The interaction, the amount of followers, the amount of people using the platform. We had their Discord, had barely any people in it. We had just a ton of stuff. Ryan actually talked to me at one point in time. He kind of said he was going to, then he refused to, then we did eventually. He got very mad at me when I brought up the fact that Logan Paul had been associated with a couple pumpy dumpy type endeavors in the NFT space, and maybe a sign of what was to come. So now, again, a ton of the stuff that we predicted, a ton of the stuff that we covered has basically been exposed, has been shown by this regulator, the OSC, that we're going to take a look at today. But also just we got a couple articles here. We'll take a look through this one. I'll try to show everything on screen. We're not going to read through everything in its entirety, so if you want to pause it and read through, you can, just in case you can't find it, or you probably look it up if you need to. We have investment executive, crypto collectible scheme duped investors, OSC alleges. Regulator alleges venture was a multi-layered fraud. I would have to say, in my opinion, it entirely was. And this seemingly was the case from the beginning. We have something that we'll take a look at later on, a little bit of a kind of like Easter egg that the boys seem to hide within their companies that they were putting money into. We'll touch on that later. You're going to want to stay tuned for that. It is something else. It's a little cocky. It seems like it's like the Wet Bandits / Sticky Bandits from Home Alone. It's on that level. It's on that level. Just stay tuned. So from the very beginning, I believe that everyone involved with this had a pretty good idea or entirely knew what was going on. Certainly anyone that was in the higher ups. And it's my belief, if you've watched the fake booster case, the G.I. Joe cards that came out of the first edition base case, that was supposed to go on Liquid Marketplace. And I think everyone along the entire line had that planned out. It was going to go into a vault. It could never be opened. It's like the perfect scheme, right? Until someone makes videos about it. They end up opening it and they're like, oopsie doopsie. Thank you so much, Rattle. You're the best person that ever existed. You're the greatest. Thank you so much. But then at the same point, we're going to take a look at some DMs where the same people that I advised at no charge, that talked to me and said that I was, thank you so much for saving me. It seemed like that was a whole lot of fluff, especially because of the fact that Logan, according to Shine, was not actually the owner of the case at any point in time. So Shine is saying that transaction never happened. So at the very least, we're faking a transaction in order to put this on a platform and make it more expensive than it should be, or make it seem like it's more appealing or more valuable than it should be, which is also a pretty big no-no. Now, we've covered a whole lot of everything on this platform. Everything, just the tokens not even being created. The whole platform seemingly a farce, a front for these guys to spend a ton of money that isn't theirs. Now, you're going to say, what if Logan had nothing to do with it? Well, guess what? Logan, Shine, everyone else that was involved, everyone that I talked to, not only have they seen the videos or seen part of the videos, but I also personally reached out to Logan, who apparently, you would think at this point in time, if, again, according to Shine, I didn't save him any money because Logan never paid or intended to pay for the case of G.I. Joe cards. He was just going to, I guess, fake that sale. They were going to put it on Liquid Marketplace, according to Shine. Now you're going to say, well, maybe Logan's just busy. He didn't know. He was too busy doing flippy dips in the and all the other stuff that he was fighting people that weren't really fighting him. He was getting ready to go and be a wrestler. Here it is. Here's some DMs. I specifically said, hey, this is shady. Look what's going on here. This is why I think the whole thing is fake. And guess what? It got ignored. Same thing. told Shine the same thing. You would think at some point, if somebody was going to give you free advice, you don't have to, again, no one had to pay me to do any of this stuff. I didn't expect anything in return. But you would think that if the scenario, that the fake case was actually a surprise to them, they would be like, oh, damn, we got to listen to Rattle all the time, every time, instead of brushing it off. So they brushed off the fact that I told them Liquid Marketplace looked suspicious, that there was so much shady stuff going on, and he sent me this copy paste that was probably from Ryan. Now, who do you trust? Should you trust me? Maybe. Maybe not. Logan Paul probably isn't my fan. If he knew about the fake case, if they all knew about the fake case, then I kind of ruined their entire plot, their entire scheme. So then they had to potentially, theoretically, they had to go and get that illustrator, the 10 that we can never see the back of because it's not actually a 10. Well, at least it wasn't the first times that it was submitted. Eventually I got a 10 back when PSA would grade the thing for less than $10 a submission. So you could send it in at infinite times and just, clench your butt, hope it gets a 10. Now, thank you very much, anyone and everyone who has been using the link tree, been shopping on these sites. Some of them have discount codes. Save yourself some money while you're buying something good to support the channel. Again, we had Ryan. We had all the bad guys. It turns out usually the bad guys don't like when I make videos about them doing bad things. So they false flag the videos. So, well, also, we like to use some naughty words. So maybe we make a little bit less on ads. I want to make the videos that I want to make. I want to make sure that the videos are as helpful as possible, that they're as natural as possible, and if they get taken down and I lose the money from them, it's not a big deal because you guys have been absolutely stellar using these codes. Some of them you can click on before you're going to shop there anyway. Some of them you can get a nice discount while you're there. Much appreciated. Love you guys very much for doing that. It is now the backbone of the channel. Like 21 videos had to be re-uploaded. Absolutely nuked the channel, but you guys have my back and I love you for it. Now, we're going to continue to do the right thing no matter what, every time, all the time. That's the method to our madness. Now, we have 2 years ago, this bad boy here, and again, Liquid Marketplace, probably not as snazzy, not as sexy, not as exciting as a fake, box with a giant fake price tag on it. I get that. There's no big reveal here. This is a lot of people that got ripped off. And again, the content that's made on the channel here is in everyone's best interest. What I think is everyone's best interest, in the public's best interest. So sometimes it's not sexy. And a lot of times it's negative. I get called a negative Nancy. But the sad reality is, in order to make people aware, in order to provide people with the information they need, in order to make sound decisions, I believe that we have to show the bad stuff. We're trying to do some nice stuff, some lighthearted stuff. We do some openings, some lighthearted videos every now and then. We got to sprinkle those in so we don't absolutely go insane. But here we have it. We have is Logan Paul's Liquid Marketplace the next Dink Doink or Crypto Zoo? And some might call this a prediction over 2 years in advance of what is coming out now. And you might be correct on that one. Now, here, this article we'll go through, and then we're going to go through the actual document, the PDF document from the OSC, which highlights all of the wrongdoings that are going on. This is the exciting part. So here we have it. OSC accuses Toronto's Liquid Marketplace and 3 top executives of fraud. So not just the 3 top executives. I hope that they're not just like scapegoats. I hope that anyone else that had anything to do with it, that knew what was going on, is punished accordingly. And not just you know what, you only profited from this a little bit. You were only kind of in on it, and we'll only punish these guys. Hopefully, the FBI, hopefully they're pulling up their bootstraps here and ready to act. The OSC's Capital Markets Tribunal said it will hold a hearing next month on allegations that Liquid Marketplace's 3 top executives illegally diverted millions of dollars in investor funds. Liquid Marketplace Inc. says it sells investors portions of rare collectibles like sports trading cards using crypto technology, but the Ontario Securities Commission alleges the company is in fact a multi-layered fraud. The OSC's Capital Markets Tribunal said Friday it will hold a hearing next month on allegations that the company's 3 top executives illegally diverted millions of dollars in investor funds to themselves, then lied to OSC staff when questioned about their income. Ryan Bahadori, our favorite dude on the channel here, Amin Nickdell, and Dennis Damazet. Liquid Marketplace Chief Executive Officer, Chief Technology Officer, and former Chief Financial Officer, respectively. Each face up to $7 million in fines alongside other penalties. Toronto-based LMP raised more than $10 million, according to its own public disclosures, of which the OSC alleges roughly $3 million was misappropriated for the personal enrichment of Mr. Bahadori, Mr. Nickdell, and Mr. Damazet. Mr. Bahadori also used company credit cards and funds to pay for nearly $500,000 worth of personal expenses, including high-end fashion, expensive jewelry, and watches, personal health, and spa services, the OSC alleged. Don't forget the Porsches. Don't forget the Porsches. If you want the full details on a lot of this stuff, I am going to make references to it, but I'll put the link to the playlist, both the fake case and the Liquid Marketplace playlists down below if you want to check those out. It's a lot to get through, but I think it's worth a watch. I think it's worth going through and seeing kind of what we discovered. I tried to provide as many receipts as possible to, I guess, explain my reasoning why I thought that this was a scam since 2 years ago. So if you need that, if you want that, I promise it's a good watch. It's interesting stuff. Hopefully a learning lesson, and hopefully people get back as much as they possibly can from this. This is crazy. People put a stupid amount of money into this, investors, not investors in the company, but also people that bought tokens. And we'll take a look at those numbers. Those numbers are wild. I didn't have access to those numbers. Again, they're not going to say that this is how much money came in, or this is how much money that they dumped into a company thinking that they could sneak it out. Allegedly. The three also authorized interest-free loans of at least $550,000 in investor funds to themselves, including more than $10,000 US that went to pay Mr. Bahadori's rent, which were never repaid, the OSC alleged. So that's the thing too. Not only there, I think we heard from inside sources previously that rent was being paid. The rent was being paid. Not just Ryan's, but elsewhere, that essentially they were renting out domiciles to the Liquid Marketplace in order to have that paid by Liquid Marketplace. Just a disgusting amount of money. And then this is the same guy that's going to tell me that he was selling his personal booster box in, again, not in token form, because that would, make use of the platform that they claimed was so great. They were going to do a box break that failed. And he claimed that some like $10,000 or $20,000 was a lot of money. Meanwhile, it seems like a lot of this money was coming out of the company. A lot of it was investor funds. And it's kind of reading through this, looking back on all of it, it's kind of no wonder that people had such a hard time using the platform and withdrawing their money. And then recently we had the Illustrator all of a sudden sold, but we have no information on who it sold to. I would imagine that probably went back to Logan. Now, whether or not he had to buy it out at the price of the tokens, I would imagine most of the tokens were held, that it actually didn't sell out. I can't imagine a world where it did. Again, I don't think many people were using the platform, but it seems like there is quite a bit of money that got dumped into tokens. LMP also made false and misleading statements about its core business, the OSC alleged. The company sells LMP tokens for 10 cents each, which it claims to represent fractional ownership of a certain collectible. For example, one of the first items LMP offered when it launched in 2022 was a 2003 autographed LeBron James jersey patch rookie card. So that's the thing too. They're going to have to look into OSC, but also the FBI are going to have to look into who was paid for what, who was involved, what all the communication was, what the plan was. And there's so many people involved here that I can't imagine that one isn't going to rat out the other, because they're talking serious money here. You're talking serious punishments where they were registered in both in Canada and the United States. I don't know if they thought there was some kind of loophole that they can get off scot-free with this kind of stuff. But also all the people that were put on the website, all the people that were involved, all the people that were involved with the fake case, I think all need to be investigated to the full extent. Again, I'm one person here. I don't have the I don't have the means to force any information out of these individuals, but the authorities do. So they're gonna have to take it from here. Again, I can kind of toss up the red flag and be like, hey, something sketchy's going on here, guys. What's going on here? The company claims its tokens represent genuine ownership in underlying collectibles and that the collectibles themselves have been authenticated, appraised, and insured. According to the OSC, the company has sold roughly 2.7 million worth of its LMP tokens. And that's the thing too. If the tokens crash, people weren't able to take their money out. But then even if they're eventually able to, if it's worth a fraction, if it's 10% of what it was, if your 10 cent token is now 1 cent and you're taking your money out, they're just absolutely taking your money, and they're going to blame it on the market conditions and everything else, but the platform never worked. And when people were actually able to take any money out, it was a pain. They had to do it. They had to actually take it out in cash. There was fees involved. Instead of, like, you would think this NFT crypto type platform, you'd be able to take it out in crypto, place it elsewhere. Not the case. I mean, the whole thing, and him saying that it was necessary to be on the blockchain and everything else, clearly was a farce, because a lot of the tokens weren't even minted, including the ones for that PSA 10 illustrator. So semen sketch here. When the Globe and Mail reviewed the Liquid Marketplace website on Friday afternoon, it continued to say its collectibles are carefully selected, authenticated, and appraised by industry experts. Yeah, the website's an absolute mess. It had Logan on there. It had Logan off of there. I pointed out that Logan wasn't on there anymore. They put Logan back on there. Again, how much did Logan have to do with it? I think more than he's going to try to let on. And again, I straight up warned both him, I warned Shine, I warned everyone else involved. They called me the Liquid Marketplace boogeyman for a reason internally. That was what they said, because I saw their scam coming. I mean, surely there were many people that didn't trust the platform, but when I just kept finding thing after thing about how this platform, how, like, from the very get-go, it seemingly was designed to wrong people. However, the OSC alleged LMP tokens do not represent legal ownership of underlying collectibles, and the company does not authenticate, appraise, or insure the collectibles. So we went through their terms and conditions, and yes, it seemed like they had the ability to absolutely shaft you, regardless of what else they wanted to do in the background. The whole thing where they were able to trade and keep tokens and hold tokens and change the amount of tokens that could be held by the person that was submitting the item, especially with that illustrator, because when the vote can come down to who has the most tokens, who has a certain percentage, and it's at their discretion, there's so many things that were at their discretion that it was just disgustingly unfair just on that alone, even if it wasn't designed to steal from everyone. Even when a collector was known to have previously bought fraudulent collectibles to the LMP platform, the OSC alleged the company never conducted any diligence to ensure the authenticity of subsequent collectibles brought to the platform by the same collector. So that's the thing. I mean, a lot of it was like graded and everything else, but with the fake case, did they do their job? Are they going to point? They're going to be, oh, it's BBCE's fault. Oh, it's blame Jacob. Blame Jacob for that. It's his fault that it's G.I. Joe's inside. He was trying to scam us all along. Or are we going to blame Justin? No one blames Justin, even though he was the one that likely created that had the eBay listing that likely created the case itself. The company did not respond to a request for comment, and individual messages sent to Mr. Bahadori, Mr. Nick Dell, and Mr. Domazet via LinkedIn were not returned. Mr. Nick Dell is listed as a founder or co-founder of 4 other startups on his LinkedIn profile. So if I'm sure they will do this anyway, but if the FBI is looking to find anything out, and I'm sure you can get lots of stories from lots of individual employees that do want to distance themselves from it. A lot of employees that were let go earlier on. A lot of employees that were probably privy to some information or saw the signs of things coming. And maybe some that less so did. But I think everyone involved with this platform at some point in time, from what I've seen, knew that this stuff was bad. It was bad news. Anyone that knew Ryan, and all of a sudden, like, he went from paving driveways to buying expensive jewelry, vacations all the time, every time. Not to mention the fact that all of these other people that were providing items, getting a salary from the platform itself, that all needs to be looked into, because they were flying places, they were going on vacations. From the sounds of it, a lot of that was being provided by Liquid Marketplace money. So not just Ryan on the plane, but everyone else that got on needs to be investigated and find out what their involvement was in the entire situation. Mr. Damazet's profile cites more than 14 years working for Deloitte Canada, including nearly 3 years as the firm's blockchain tax leader before starting his own small business-focused accounting firm in 2020. According to the OSC, it was in late 2021 that the three men devised a scheme to make significant payments to themselves through purported consulting companies, each of which had Cooney in its name. So here's the interesting thing that I was talking about earlier. We got two of the boys. We got Ryan and Amin are Persian, and Cooney with an I instead of an EY is basically a slur for gay people, referring to people that take it in the butt. So I don't know, this might be a little bit of a sneaky little thing that they snuck in there, as in like the investors or the people using the platform were going to take it in the butt. Interesting, right? I don't know if anyone caught this or if they would even include it in a document of that kind. But to me, whenever they created these Cooney companies, I think that's a pretty damning piece of evidence that could indicate that they knew all along that they were going to shaft everyone. So there was at points throughout this, I do believe that it was designed from the get-go to scam, but there were points, and there's probably arguments that could have been made, or maybe even still could be loosely made, that it wasn't the intention to scam from the get-go. Maybe a failing company, and we have to take that into consideration, that it's a possibility. I just think it's unlikely that it had good intentions at the beginning. Maybe it was failing, and then they decided, hey, we might as well spend all the money. Yeah, I just think it was. I think it was bad intentions from the get-go, and the Cooney thing, that kind of leads me to believe it even more. More than 2.5 million was eventually transferred to what the OSC referred to as the Cooney companies, the OSC alleged. So with the fake case, I think that's kind of, to me, that's what leads me to believe that it was just bad intentions from the beginning, not just to have like an expensive or a sought after item or a crazy item on there, but I'd love to hear an argument that everyone involved within that didn't know it was fake. I mean, we have people that should have known all along that this thing was fake. We have BBCE, who wouldn't authenticate a single box, but they authenticated a full case. We have the Pokaju Michael, who he looks at vintage stuff all the time. He's always opening vintage stuff. He has vintage stuff, and you're trying to tell me that he didn't do enough research? Did he just turn a blind eye because it was like, hey, here's your payout. Here, you're going to be working for LMP. All the people that were involved with the fake case were also supposed to be on with LMP. Even the meeting where they opened it up and saw the G.I. Joe cards inside, Amin was there. The same Amin that we're talking about here. So if this was all a scam, allegedly, according to the OSC, why do you think that wasn't a scam that was put together for the G.I. Joe cards? Despite being asked multiple times in a variety of ways about his total compensation, Mr. Bahadori told OSC investigators he earned roughly $102,000 salary in 2022 and no salary in 2023. How generous of him. The other two men cited the same figure. The OSC said later it discovered Mr. Bahadori. Yeah, it's tough. No salary. That's a lot of vacations. That's a lot of sports cars. That's a lot of spending that you're doing that we've covered on the channel here, and constantly just roses and vacations and everything else with the trophy girl. Not only did he have the trophy girl, but he replaced the trophy girl. We have people that were, not to mention the fact that there's no mention of it here, but a lot of the people that were receiving salaries from Liquid Marketplace were relatives of these guys. So that needs to be looked into as well. I'm sure it will be. So not only are they, pumping their own money into themselves, but when you have people, you have a trophy girl who seemingly, when I talked to her, didn't know what was going on, anything about the company, whether she was just letting on she didn't know anything about the company, whether or not she had an actual role there, or Ryan was just boinking her. I don't know what the story is there, but it seemed like she had no idea what was going on. And maybe she was just receiving a salary because they had the money and they could funnel the money out in any way they wanted to. Now, the investors, I've talked to some of the investors, they got absolutely boned. They are not happy. It seems like some legal action was taken. We'll have to follow on that if we get more. So the OSC said it later discovered Mr. Bahadori had received more than $300,000 in annual salary and more than $1.2 million in payments to his Cooney company, and that the other two men had also received several $100,000 more than they had previously claimed. Who would have thought? Again, this is one of those things where they can lie to you, but once the authorities, get a hold of what happened here, it looks pretty bad when you're lying about that. It was only after the commission. I mean, the money went somewhere. There's a trail to it. Whether or not they think it's like, oh, we'll just send it to the Cooney companies and no one will ever notice. Yeah, well, Ryan, your spending, it was very noticeable. I hope you had fun. It was only after the commission independently discovered these payments and questioned the LMP principles that they admitted to these payments, the OSC said. The tribunal will hear the case on July 31st. We'll have to see what happens with that. I will follow up when there's additional information, when there's enough additional information to do so. Now, hold on. We got a better version of this PDF right here with some highlighted points, and I'll scroll through and show every single page here in case you want to pause it and read through and look through whatever you want to read. It's only 15 pages, so if you do want to read it, you can read it. But we'll just go through the main points here. We have Ryan Bahadori, Amin Nickdell, and Dennis Domazet. Together, they're termed the LMP principles. We have Liquid Marketplace Inc. and Liquid Marketplace Corp. LMP Nevada, together with LMP Inc. LMP. So we have misappropriated approximately $3 million, including... it might be even more than that if they're not including any of the salaries that they were paying to people. How much did they do there? I would love to find out. I'd love to hear them talk about what their duties were, what they did on there. Again, if you're just paying people a salary because they're related to you or they're your girlfriend, that might be a little bit unethical. Shell companies for the personal enrichment of the LMP principles. I think that's the biggest argument here is personal enrichment. I don't know how they're going to claim that a lot of this stuff, like the girlfriend's Porsche, where did the money come from that? Was it investor money? How is that a business expense? Was it a work vehicle? I'd love to hear it. Second, approximately $2.7 million has been obtained by LMP from the sale of LMP tokens to LMP token purchasers. LMP, Bahadori, and Nickdell made false and misleading statements to token purchasers, including that LMP tokens represent legal ownership in underlying collectibles and that the collectibles themselves had been authenticated, appraised, and insured. It seems like everything, even more of it's a lie than I thought. I mean, there's probably, remember when I brought up the vault to Ryan and he was going on about how it's a real, the page about the vault was just like a pipe dream about, it was like, oh, our vault might not be a crazy super duper extreme, but here's what it's real. It's definitely a vault. Now, from insiders, what I heard was a lot of it ended up on Ryan's desk, and what the documents here state is the fact that they were in safety deposit boxes and not insured, and so there was a lack of audit. There was a lack of information on an audit. And I think this is why. In addition, LMP sold and facilitated the trading of LMP tokens without complying with the prospectus and registration requirements of the Act, thus depriving investors of important safeguards to protect them from unscrupulous and fraudulent conduct. Finally, the LMP principals also made misleading and untrue statements to the Ontario Securities Commission, during the Commission's investigation into LMP. The LMP principals misled the Commission by hiding the true nature and total amount of money they had misappropriated for their personal enrichment. Whoo, baby, did they ever. Most of the collectibles were contributed by LMP personnel or other non-arm length associates collectors. So yes, there's a record of all of that within my videos that shows all of their titles. We have co-founder Logan Paul, who is going to pretend that he wasn't a co-founder anymore. I mean, I don't know what kind of legal obligation there is to putting your name on something and saying you're a co-founder, and whether or not you received a bunch of funds from that, for that, or your intention was not a good one from the beginning. If you were faking a sale on a G.I. Joe case, again, the faking the sale, that's bad enough. But if it gets to the point that not only was it a fake sale, but also they knew that the case itself was fake, that's a whole nother level there. Trying to sell somebody something that it isn't. That's some serious fraud. That's some very serious fraud. We have anticipated returns because here we're going to talk about how like LMP was trying to convince people that it was a good investment. Anticipated returns because they are, among other things, good hedges on inflation with long-term growth potential. LMP has also purported to list collectibles on initial drop as cheap or discounted prices, further creating the expectation of profits for token purchasers, whether through LMP tokens trades on the marketplace or sale votes to sell or auction the collectibles for their purportedly high market value. So, yeah, pretty much. It's good investment, guys. It's a good investment. Fraud on share and note purchasers. In or around March 2021 to August 2022, LMP and its principals raised approximately $6.8 million and $0.9 million by selling common shares and share options of LMP Inc. We saw them doing that even in recent times to approximately 146 investors located primarily in Canada and the US. So we got 146 investors that got boned. I don't know how many of them got their money back, how many of them didn't. I think at least one did. Since around June 2023, LMP and its principals have raised at least a further $1.4 million by selling unsecured convertible promissory notes in LMP Nevada. So I think there was one person that said like, oh my God, I was almost going to invest in this stuff and I didn't. Good thing I looked into it. Good thing they looked into it. Again, warning signs, maybe they're not seen. Maybe if we don't make these videos, no one can tell what's going on here. The respondents defrauded share and note purchasers by misappropriating millions of dollars of funds from LMP for the LMP principal's personal enrichment by making hidden payments to shell corporations without any legitimate business purpose, and two, other than butt pumping, apparently. Providing interest-free loans from investor funds to LMP principals for personal use, which loans were never repaid. I don't think they ever will be. Was it like the Dumb and Dumber, like IOUs? You might want to hold on to that. That one's a car. that one's a Porsche for the trophy girl. In or around fall 2021, the LMP principals devised a scheme to make significant payments to themselves through purported consulting companies: Cooney Industries Inc., Bahadori, Cooney Marketing Inc., Nick Dell, and Cooney Management Corp., Domazet, each individually a Cooney company and together the Cooney companies. Now, I would love to know whether or not they realized what the Cooney thing, the hidden meaning behind it was, allegedly. But again, Persian meaning is not a nice term, and almost hard to ignore the fact that it sounds like they were looking to pump people in the butt, or the people that are getting screwed over are the ones getting butt pumped. Beginning in November 2021, each of the LMP principals received payments to his Cooney company while also earning hundreds of thousands of dollars in salary from LMP. In total, the LMP principals authorized approximately $2.5 million in payments to the LMP principals' Cooney's companies. These were no business purpose for the payments to the Cooney companies. There are no consulting services agreements between LMP and any of the Cooney companies, and the services purportedly provided to LMP by the Cooney companies were identical to the pre-existing roles and responsibilities of the LMP principals, for which they were already earning generous salaries. I would say so. With a platform that was failing, to be still taking $100,000 for a company that's brand new, to still be taking $100,000 when you definitely don't need to be, is pretty wild. The LMP principals did not disclose their Cooney company payments to actual or prospective share and note purchasers. The LMP principles also authorize the use of investor funds to make interest-free personal loans to Buyee and Nick Dell. In total, at least $550,000 of investor funds were received by Buyee and Nick Dell by way of, among other things, nearly $500,000 worth of loans made to Buyee for personal use and advances to Buyee approximately $56,000 and Nick Dell approximately $37,000 to fund their personal LMP platform accounts. So that's the thing too. If they're putting tokens into their own accounts, we saw weird stuff going on with that, where all the people that were involved with it, we had Shine, who claimed that he never used the platform ever, but he still had like experience, like he was way above everyone else, and they were all super round numbers, which wouldn't happen because XP is given out in like really weird non-uniform numbers. So like them having like a bunch of zeros at the end didn't make any sense. Very fabricated and not well hidden, the fact that they're trying to let on like the people were using the platform. These loans and advances have not been repaid. With respect to paragraph 30, Buyee used LMP credit cards and funds to pay for nearly $500,000 worth of personal expenses, including high-end fashion, expensive jewelry and watches, personal health and luxury spa services. Don't forget, I don't know where the car came from, which funds or how they weaseled that money into that, but would love to hear it. These Buyee personal expenses, or whether they paid for it in cash, whether they paid for it in full, or they were making payments on the sports cars, that'd be interesting too. These Buyee personal expenses were accounted for as loans from LMP to Buyee and his Cooney company. Buyee did not repay LMP for any of his personal spending loans. Instead, many of Buyee's personal expenditures were written off by periodically offsetting them against amounts purportedly owing to Buyee's Cooney company. By December 2022, Buyee and or his Cooney company still owed LMP over $286,000 for personal expenses. Does anyone know, or do we see now why Ryan didn't want to talk to me? To write off this outstanding loan, or why he pretended that he was going to talk to me but then didn't want to talk to me, or threatened to like hang up the call if we talked any more about Logan Paul's prior dumpers. To write off this outstanding loan, the LMP principals declared a national bonus from LMP to Buyee's Cooney company for the exact amount Buyee owed LMP, and used the bonus to offset Buyee's outstanding loan owed to LMP. The respondents obtained approximately $2.7 million from token purchasers through the sale of LMP tokens. Man, yeah, anyone... Rest in peace, anyone that put tokens in there, that was fighting to get them out. There were some hardcore people. There was like 10 people that were like hardcore of the hardcore. I don't know if it was actually 10, but there weren't that many in the LMP Discord that they like threatened to shut down, because even they were getting negative at some point because the platform just didn't work. Everyone lost money. And they get the same kind of BS excuses time and time again. It's ridiculous. That this was even kind of allowed to happen to begin with. And I do hope that everyone gets their money back, or at least gets most of their money back. Again, so much of it was spent at this point in time that that's going to be a very hard task to ask for. I do hope that the people involved, if they're found guilty of purposely ripping people off, the fraud that seems to be here, the alleged fraud, if that's the case, I do hope that these guys do some serious time. I don't know exactly if that'll come down to it. I don't know if they'll... Clearly, I don't think there's any way that they're going to be able to pay back the total amount owed, but... Representations to the effect that LMP tokens represent legal ownership recorded on the blockchain of a fraction of an underlying collectible that could be traded in the marketplace only after all the tokens for a collectible had been sold on initial drop, and LMP authenticates, appraises, and insures the collectibles. Contrary to these representations, and as described in greater detail below, LMP tokens do not represent legal ownership of underlying collectibles. Purported token purchaser ownership is not recorded on any blockchain, and LMP moved collectibles to the marketplace that had failed to sell out on initial drop, and LMP does not authenticate, appraise, or insure the collectibles. These false and misleading representations exposed token purchasers to undisclosed risks, caused investor losses, and benefited LMP and its associates. LMP has only entered into listing agreements for 6 of the 37 collectibles that were listed on the LMP platform and has no other documentation to transfer legal ownership of the collectibles from collectors to token purchasers. Oh my God. We kind of saw it from the get-go here, even with their wording on a lot of the documents and terms of service and everything else, that they can basically do whatever they want and shaft you if they decide to do so. Wow, wild. LMP moved collectibles to the marketplace that had not sold out on the initial drop and deposited the unsold LMP tokens into LMP platform accounts that were owned or controlled by the LMP principals or their affiliates. We pointed that out for sure. LMP failed to mint or create tokens for many of the collectibles, and no purported token purchaser ownership has been recorded on any blockchain. Rather, LMP tracks LMP token sales and trades through an off-chain ledger system, and LMP has no structure in place to protect token purchasers' purported proprietary interests in an insolvency event. We mentioned a lot of that stuff. There's a lot of danger, many red flags here. LMP does not authenticate the collectibles, does not have the credentials to perform such authentications, and does not coordinate the authentication of the collectibles by any qualified third party. Even when a collector was known to have previously bought fraudulent collectibles for tokenization on the LMP platform, LMP did not conduct diligence to ensure the authenticity of subsequent collectibles offered by such non-arm's length collector. Ooh, who are we talking about here? I guess technically Logan didn't own the case because the sale was fake according to Shine, but ridiculous. LMP does not appraise or otherwise ensure the fair valuation of the collectibles. Rather, LMP accepts whatever price is stipulated by collectors who profit from the sale of LMP tokens for their collectibles. For at least 11 collectibles, LMP also artificially raised the initial drop price by 8% beyond what collectors were seeking and gave the additional 8% worth of LMP tokens free of charge to an LMP associate. Could that be? Was that the advertising? Was that a little trade-off for advertising? Furthermore, LMP hid instances where the market did not show sufficient interest in the collectible and the stated value on initial drop by moving collectibles to the marketplace that had not sold out on the initial drop and not disclosing the fact that such collectibles had failed to sell out from token purchasers. Yeah, we kind of saw that. We kind of predicted that with the amount of people that were using the platform, the amount of interest that was shown on their social media posts in their Discord and stuff like that. They were giving away free stuff in the Discord Q&As, and you had they struggled to hit double-digit people in there that were dedicated enough. So I think the whole platform itself was more of a front than anything. I'm sure they received a ton of money, people buying into something at the beginning. They're like, oh, whatever, I'm just going to throw some money into owning a fractional share of Logan's PSA 10 Illustrator that was a 9 a bunch of times first, that was in a pizza box and everything else. So LMP does not insure the collectibles and has failed to ensure that the collectibles stored in third-party vaults are covered by any insurance. LMP stores some of the collectibles in a Canadian safe deposit box and the rest in third-party storage vaults located in the United States. LMP has no insurance over the collectibles in the Canadian safe deposit box and has relied on the third-party vault's insurance without confirming whether or to what extent any vault insurance covers the collectibles stored in their vaults. Unreal. So here we go. What do we got now? We got more misleading information. Again, they're gonna lie out their ass about this stuff, and then we have clearly it's gonna come out. There's a trail to all of this stuff. We have Buyee gave a number of false and misleading responses, including that he identified one company, not his Cooney company, which he claimed was the sole company he had incorporated. Each of the LMP principals only received a $102,153.86 salary in 2022. Buyee and Nick Dell took no salaries in 2023. Even if Buyee received any compensation payments via another corporation, any such compensation was included in his $102,153.86 salary, and Buyee did not spend LMP funds on personal items or expenses that were flashy or of substantial value like jewelry and watches. Ooh. He was doing it. He was buying it. He was buying the jewelry. They're really focused in on the jewelry and watches thing, but I mean, again, there's like maybe there's a half-ass excuse for the sports cars. I don't see it, or the vacations. In response to questions about his compensation from LMP, Nick Dell advised that he was paid an annual salary of $150,000, but he stopped taking a salary in summer 2022. When asked if he received any other form of compensation, Nick Dell responded, "No." Ooh, that's a big old lie, it seems. Dumazet was asked to identify all companies that he had incorporated. In response, Dumazet identified 3 companies but did not mention his Cooney company or other companies that he had incorporated. I mean, guys, there's a record. There's a record of all this stuff. Buyee received over $300,000 in salary and over $1.2 million in payments to his Cooney company. Buyee also spent nearly $500,000 of LMP investor funds on personal expenses, including over $50,000 of investor funds on high-end jewelry, watches, and clothing. Buyee also received $10,000 USD from LMP investor funds to pay for his personal rent. Approximately $93,000 of investor funds were used to fund Buyee and Nick Dell's personal accounts on the LMP platform. Nick Dell received over $260,000 in salary and approximately $750,000 in payments to his Cooney company. Dumazet received nearly $200,000 in salary and at least approximately $490,000 and $240,000 in payments to his Cooney company and one other company, Lone Star Advisory Ltd., through which Dumazet received these payments after he dissolved his Cooney company in or around early 2023. And Dumazet also received approximately $50,000 of investor funds towards the renting and furnishing of a residential condominium owned by Dumazet. So there it is. We're paying rent with the company here. Rent it out to the company. It was only after the commission independently discovered these payments and questioned the LMP principles that they admitted to these payments. Not only did the earlier responses fail to disclose these payments to the Cooney companies, but the responses also failed to disclose any of the other forms of compensation received by the LMP principals, including the various payments and loans for the LMP principals' personal use or benefit. We got unregistered trading, we got illegal distribution, we have unlawful operation of a marketplace, authorizing, permitting, or acquiescing in breaches of Ontario securities law. We got breaches in conduct contrary to the public interest. We got orders sought here, and I'll show the last page. That's what we got. This is insane, guys. The dollar value is much higher than I thought on the token buying end of things. Yeah, stay tuned. We'll have to follow through with this. Again, hopefully everyone that had bad intentions with this is punished to the fullest extent that they can be. This is unacceptable, and it's gross. It's a gross thing to look through, but we can just hope that the legal system, that the authorities crack down on this and anything else that's similar to it, so that it doesn't keep happening. It's the NFT stuff that we're playing hopscotch here. Logan is just hopping on one to the other. It seems time and time again that this is what we're going to be looking at. Where does it end? And it's kind of gross that there's no excuse for it. I warned them. I showed them the signs. They took zero action on those signs. They showed zero indication of them looking into it, other than what seemingly was a copy paste from Ryan, and spitting that back at me, and then eventually just not responding. Again, you can't say that I'm not trying to help. You can't say that you were just going to just a random person's advice. If you're going to pretend that the fake case was like me saving you money, then yeah, you probably also want to pretend that you're looking into a liquid marketplace that seemingly was set up allegedly as a scam from the very beginning. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks everyone that has been sharing the series. Hopefully some people through watching it made smart decisions and did not get ripped off by this platform. Hopefully a learning lesson for the future. And I appreciate every one of you. Join the Discord if you haven't already. See you next time. Bye.